The breeziest Platinum Award of the whole video goes to Control, which has nothing missable, no outrageous difficult trophies, and even lets you use DLC to complete the trophies in the base list. More on that later. Now I've platinumed this game twice now, once on the PS4 and now on the PS5. If you can, not everybody's got a PS5, but if you can, play this on the PS5, please. Please! Like, it's a night and day difference. There will be no menu slowdowns, very few frame drops, if none at all, and it just overall runs better on this better hardware. Trust me, it's one of the reasons why I didn't have a good time the first time around, but loved it this time, the second time. But let's talk about the story of Control. Admittedly, the first time I played it, I didn't get it at all. Things happened way too fast and in a very cryptic kind of way that was really overwhelming. But a second run through of the game for this video has shown me just how top-notch the writing is, and it's exactly as good as Alan Wake. There are a total of 13 story trophies, including completing main missions and a few extra unmissable trophies too, all story related. The game starts very abruptly without much explanation. Jesse Faden, our main protagonist, just waltzes into the oldest house, which is the name of the building for the Federal Bureau of Control. Normally, this building is not even visible to the outside world, but yet Jesse just walks in, no problem, like they're putting out cookies and juice for her. And that's because Jesse is special. She already has this power inside of her head, a voice inside named Polaris. It's like a guiding voice that also gives her powers and is tied to a traumatic event in Jesse's past. But we will get to all these things. Just hold your horses. I'm setting the scene right now. Gotta set the mood for this one.
There's something nice. A landscape, a famous person. Like in that movie. What is it called? The prison movie. The room's a cell, and the picture, it's different for each of us. It can be beautiful or terrible, but we're all transfixed.
In the opening couple hours of the game, Jesse walks into a building on lockdown like she was an expected guest, finds out the director of the Federal Bureau of Control has become deceased by his own hand, and becomes the new acting director of the FBC with the directive to take care of the complete invasion of the Bureau. This game absolutely thrusts you into the role, and you'll spend the rest of your time playing the game trying to figure out what happened and how you can fix it. Jesse Faden also had her own ulterior motives for being here, and it has to do with her brother. I mentioned a traumatic event, and it has to do with an incident that happened in Jesse's hometown of Ordinary, Maine, when she was a child. Jesse and her brother Dylan stumble upon a slide projector that is altered. That's the technical way to describe it, allowing them to explore inside the slides, transporting them into different scenes. In one of these projector slides, Jesse and Dylan stumble upon Polaris, which is the same one as the voice in her head which she befriends. Long story short here, Jesse and Dylan caused the famed incident in Ordinary by messing around with the slides in this altered projector, which caused all the adults in the town to disappear, create weird monsters, and caused certain people in their life to go crazy. Polaris came to the rescue to help shut the projector down, but this whole event attracted the attention of the FBC, who tried to detain Jesse and Dylan along with everything that happened here in Ordinary, pretty much Men in Black style. Jesse escapes, Dylan does not. Dylan is detained by the Bureau, and Jesse has returned to the place where he's being held to find out what happened to him. So where were we? Oh yes! Jesse ends up finding the now deceased director, Zachariah Trench, thanks to a very helpful tip from the janitor, and upon picking up his service weapon, she becomes the new director of the FBC. The rest of the game is going to be a wild ride, both discovering where Dylan might be and finding a way to stop the absolute invasion of this place. In the beginning, you get the feeling like Jesse doesn't give a damn about what happens to this place as long as she gets the answer she's looking for. But after meeting all the different people working for the FBC and their absolute struggle to keep this thing running and fight off this thing, Jesse finally invests herself in the director position and becomes the leader they are looking for. She may have been thrust into this position upon picking up the service weapon, but she doesn't really embrace it until the very end of the game when she finds out what happens to her brother and really understands what is at stake here and what this place really means. The people here are not looking for a way to get the hell out of the building. They are genuinely trying to stop this invasion so they can continue to do their jobs. Jobs that include securing the paranormal entities in this building, finding ways to contain them, and protect the people outside of these invisible concrete walls. And honestly, who knows how many more altered world events like what happened in Ordinary could happen if all these FBC employees just gave up their posts and got the heck out of here given the opportunity. It's insane, thankless jobs that I imagine only certain eccentric and uniquely skilled people could fill. People like Emily Pope, who is a research specialist studying all of these world-altering events and entities. Once the assistant to the missing head of research, Dr. Casper Darling, she really becomes your right-hand woman and earns the position of head of research by the end of this ordeal. There are many more important people in important positions to mention, but all in due time. I don't want to overwhelm you all at once. But one more person we do have to talk about before we cover some trophies is A.W.E, the janitor. It's crazy to think you need a janitor in a crisis like this, but A.W.E is certainly no normal janitor. Who or what? Why? Remains to be discovered, but A.W.E is a janitor for this massive place and a good one at that. He's also this extremely powerful entity who can be anywhere he wants in the building, including in the thoughts of people disguised as an old Finnish man. I don't know if he's clairvoyant or not, but he sure knows how to give advice to Jesse on how to fix messy situations and what to do next. We may never fully understand him, but A.W.E is definitely this charismatic and lovable character that will show up in more places in the Remedyverse. Okay, that's a lot to take in at once, so we'll cover some trophies. As you travel from sector to sector in this massive building, you can secure the area by cleansing control points. This process will get you the Discerning the Pattern trophy after you cleanse 25 control points and unlock a comprehensive fast travel system in the process. Plus, it's your place to upgrade your arsenal and do a bunch of other important stuff. Trust me, you'll want to build out this fast travel network, especially for the board countermeasures and bureau alerts, which we'll get to later on. Considering there are way more than 25 control points, and not even factoring the ones in the DLC, this is our first of many examples of trophies that are an absolute breeze to collect if you have the Ultimate Edition. An afterthought, if you will, as long as you are cleansing everything you encounter. Now, inside of the control point menu, you can construct a new service weapon form or level it up to make it stronger. That is the subjects of these two trophies on screen right now. Your service weapon starts off with the grip form built in, which acts like a standard revolver, and you can upgrade it using materials you pick off of enemies or random chests and other places in the building. Some resources are way harder to come by and require certain criteria, like taking out a boss, for example. As you play, you will naturally collect enough of them, so don't worry too much. You will also unlock more weapon forms like the shotgun-like scatter, the machine gun-like spin, and the power shot weapons pierce and charge. These will become available to craft after control points, and they also have other requirements when it comes to materials. The service weapon is an absolute remarkable weapon, but how does it do all of this? Well, it is one of the many discovered objects of power. These objects of power are altered items, but they are different from some of the other ones you'll find in the game in that they allow a para-utilitarian like Jesse to be able to use their powers to unlock abilities normal people wouldn't be able to use. The service weapon is the quintessential Swiss Army knife of guns, and only Jesse and a handful of others would be able to wield it. In fact, only the president of the FBC, which Jesse became as soon as she touched it, can use this weapon. We will encounter more OOPs later on, and if you're starting to get an SCP Foundation vibe from the game, your intuition is right. SCP is a big inspiration for this game, a very big one. If Alan Wake was inspired by Twin Peaks and Twilight Zone, then Control is inspired by a book series called Southern Reach. Definitely the SCP Foundation and everything that everybody's contributed to it, and it's got some Kubrick inspirations as well. Now, para-utilitarians can not only interact with objects of power, but they can also do this with places of power. The oldest house itself is a place of power, and that's why it can hide itself from the view of regular folk in plain sight. There is also one such space that you will often visit as you pull a light switch cord 3 times to transport yourself there. It is the Ocean View Motel, which you'll often visit to get to previously restricted places in the oldest house. The motel will look like what the para-utilitarian imagines a motel looking like, so when it appears in Alan Wake 2, it looks completely different from this game's version of it. You will have to solve a small puzzle and then you access the door with the black pyramid to take you to your destination. Funny enough, there are more symbols on the doors that you can't open. One of them is connected to Alan Wake and ends up being used in the A.W.E. DLC, which we'll talk about later. All this to say that there are altered places out there that could become places of power if Jesse or any para-utilitarian finds them, and the Ocean View Motel is a mysterious one with locked doors that could lead to some new discoveries. I know this is a lot to take in, just like Alan Wake was, but I hope I'm helping to make sense of it all, because I didn't have any clue about this stuff the first go around. And unless you're the type of person to read all the collectibles, you really don't get this kind of context. A trophy you will collect over time is the Interdimensional Defender trophy for taking down 1000 Hiss. This one can be an afterthought as well if you're not skipping firefights throughout your playthrough. The Hiss have fully invaded this place, and they even respawn in the places you've cleared out before if you leave the area. If you don't get the trophy after you finish the story, don't worry, you are probably pretty close at that point. The Hiss are an interesting enemy type, and it feels like they are a hive mind, although we don't know who or what is exactly pulling the strings. When the Hiss invaded the oldest house, it spread to all its staff through what has been documented down as a resonant sound. It's a sound that gets in your head like a virus and slowly drives you mad and takes over your mind and body. Once it takes control of you, you possess new paranatural abilities like levitation, healing abilities, and other abilities that will assist them in combat. The natural capabilities of the host can be greatly enhanced, making them physically stronger and faster. Again, they act like a hive mind, and their only goal seems to be to take over. It kind of feels like the Dark Presence in a way now, doesn't it? Luckily, not everybody in the oldest house was converted, and they have a way to fight against the resonance. Jesse is immune to the influence of the Hiss resonance thanks to Polaris being inside her, but the rest of the FBC staff wear a device called a Hedron Resonance Amplifier, or HRA for short. These were created by Casper Darling using black rock prisms found in the black rock mining sector, a place where you'll go and get familiar with. These are used to block out the Hiss resonance by amplifying the resonance of the Hedron, aka the big thing that gave Polaris to Jesse in Ordinary. So all hope wasn't lost for the staff locked down in the oldest house, but it wasn't until Jesse's arrival could they tip the scales in their favor. In the penultimate chapter, the Hedron is actually destroyed by the Hiss, and for a very brief moment, everyone in the building would have been susceptible to the Hiss resonance. All hope would have been lost. Jesse started hearing the resonance now that the Hedron was destroyed and therefore Polaris gone. However, Polaris reawakens in that dire moment, and now it's like Jesse has become the new Hedron for the building, and the rest of the staff can reactivate their HRAs by resonating with her. Now more than ever, it's important for Jesse to stay alive and remain the director, as the lives of everyone is now directly in her hands. For me, my favorite way to sort out these Hiss intruders is by using the launch ability. During my second go at this game, I wasted no time upgrading this ability to the max because of how strong it becomes. Whether it's a nice, meaty piece of concrete or the equivalent of a pebble, it's gonna rock some Hiss cheeks when you toss it at them. And for the Unstable Matter trophy, you need to kill 50 enemies with the launch ability. Whatever is in the room and not bolted down is a weapon to launch at high speeds. Also grab the Proper Handling Procedures trophy by using the launch ability to throw back a rocket or a grenade. Some Hiss soldiers will shoot rockets and grenades at you, and you can send them right back with this OP ability. I can't say enough about this ability, and it's gonna get the job done in most cases, especially when your service weapon is not the right version for the situation. Okay, the most demanding trophy of the whole Platinum run, if you could even call it that, is the Master Para-Utilitarian trophy, which asks you to spend 100 attribute points into the skill tree. Other than these story trophies, this is the most overarching trophy because of how you collect attribute points. I've provided the ways you can do it on screen so you can see, but essentially you collect these things all over the place. Finishing main story missions, any of the 18 side missions, when you beat certain tougher enemies like hidden bosses. The luck and probability puzzle is a fun one to do if you're short on some points. It's found in the luck and probability wing of the research sector, and you'll have to arrange and position some items that give you good luck so you can hit the best odds when you roll a roulette wheel. It's a neat puzzle worth solving, and it gives you some points. The other way you make up the rest of the attribute points is by finding the majority of the 19 hidden locations. These are pretty well hidden places within the old house, where some of them can only be accessed later in the story because you don't have the right clearance level or ability. Finding these required a guide when I did the Platinum run the first time, but I had the advantage of the Ultimate Edition the second time. Doing the main and side missions of the DLC also gave me attribute points. Plus, some of the DLC trophies ask you to find some hidden locations, so by the end of playing all this content naturally and getting all the trophies, I had just enough points to spend. Maybe I needed like 1 or 2 hidden locations instead of going for the 19. I personally upgraded all my launch abilities, health, energy, and the levitate trees. Never used melee very much, I didn't find it very useful, and while cool, the seize ability was kinda useless, kinda underpowered, but it's cool. Check it out, it's cool. Spending attribute points also naturally got me the Career Development Trophy after unlocking all 3 personal mod slots. You'll only need 40 points invested to get all 3 open, and the personal mods are great for making you stronger. Keep changing them up when you get a new variant that is stronger than the last. It follows the traditional loot rarity system that we have in games now: white, green, blue, purple, orange. Just keep switching them out when you get a better one. Now, the side missions are a very good source of attribute points, plus they are my favorite part of the whole experience. While Jessie is trying to find her brother and take back control over the Bureau, she also has some other director duties to tend to that involve objects of power. So now we have to complete 15 side missions to get the FBC Crisis Solutions Task Force trophy. The game has a total of 18 side missions, but you just need 15 of them so you can unlock this trophy. But the thing is that you should prioritize doing certain side missions because they have trophies related to them. Like a bunch of these side missions, each of them have their own trophy. And before we reveal them, I just want to say that these side quests are for the most part really awesome. They involve cool battles, sections with objects of power, and facing off against sweet bosses. 3 of these side quests will give you new abilities as well, which you need for these 3 trophies on screen right now. You'll get these abilities from the objects of power that you are chasing in these missions, and when you cleanse them, you'll be able to get the evade and shield abilities, which are super clutch, and you're going to need them in your kit. Maybe seize to a lesser extent, but having the ability to turn some hiss to your side is always going to be fun to have. Once you have those abilities unlocked, you can get these 2 trophies related to 2 of your abilities. The first one for compelling enemies can be done with the stock version of the seize ability, and that trophy is Cognitive Intruder. But when it comes to the Volatile Debris trophy, you will need to have the Shield Barrage ability in the skill tree under the shield section. Once the shield goes up, you can toss the debris back at the hiss after you're done with it. 2 easy combat trophies once you have everything unlocked and in place. Then we have 5 more trophies for side missions where you have to defeat a weird paranatural entity manifested by a object of power. These side missions will be available to finish after you reach different parts of the story. You are acquainted with Mr. Tomasi very early on, and he gets away. Well, you get another stab at tracking him down and taking on this hiss-infected former head of communications to put him down for good. Mold 1 is this monstrous plant growing deep in the pit of the central research sector of the building, and it's responsible for the infestation of mold and mold beings that keep showing up in various parts of the oldest house. This fight is very good, and I died a couple times and got pissed off, but it's very good, very thematic, awesome section, definitely worth checking out. Former is an entity inside of a refrigerator that must have eyes on it 24/7, or else the fridge will act erratic. Seriously, people take shifts sitting in a chair just looking at this fridge for hours on end. It's whack. But you face the Former when Jesse decides to cleanse the fridge, and the Former is actually a former member of the board of directors. This won't be the last time Former makes an appearance in the game, I'll tell you that much right now. You find an object of power that is a mirror, and now you have to face off against your reflected self with all the same powers as you. The reflection named needs to be defeated before you can cleanse the mirror. These side quests are really good stuff, and great delves deeper into the mysterious and cryptic nature of all these objects of power and altered items. Lastly, there is the face-off against the Anchor object of power, which is in the Enemy Within mission. Now note that to unlock this side mission, you have to complete another side mission called A Matter of Time. Think of these as part 1 and part 2. The Anchor fight itself is really good, and it's all about positioning yourself to evade its attacks. Doing these trophies will complete 9 of the 15 side missions you need for the bigger overarching trophy. Then from here I recommend doing the What a Mess side missions that are found in A.W.E the janitor's office on his notice board. These ones tend to be a lot shorter, so completing them doesn't take too much longer. But then again, there's only 3 left after you complete the 15, might as well do them. Of course, you can do these side missions as you like. There are more intriguing objects of power to see, like a traffic light, but it's up to you. You'll get more attribute points for those extra missions as well, but 15 side missions done and you get this trophy. On top of the main missions and side missions, there are mini missions and missions that spontaneously appear. They are called board countermeasures and bureau alerts. Of course, there are trophies for them. You have the Astral Tactician trophy for completing 25 board countermeasures. These are the mini missions I mentioned that have objectives like kill 10 hiss with a charged weapon, or kill 10 hiss in the investigation sector, or other criteria like that. You can accept and hand these in every time you go to a control point, and you get to choose from a list of 5. Since you can only hold 3 at a time, it is in your best interest to choose the ones that relate to where you're going and what weapons you have. And if none of them really match what you'll be doing, you can actually re-roll them by accepting them and then abandoning them. There's no consequence to abandoning them. This is how I got the trophy done quickly and didn't have to grind them out after the fact. Now I couldn't do that for the bureau alerts, which appear randomly, so it made getting the crisis management trophy a bit situational, but thankfully you only need to complete 5 bureau alerts to get this trophy. These alerts will appear spontaneously, and then you have about 20 minutes to complete it before the mission goes away. So I pretty much had to drop what I was doing and fast travel to the area where the bureau alert was taking place. The alerts pretty much boil down to clearing out all the enemies in that said area, but the caveat was that I couldn't die at any time while the alert was active. So with all these factors in mind, make sure you take care of these bureau alerts early on so you don't find yourself waiting around for them to appear in the post game. About halfway through the game, you end up finding out what happened to Dylan, and yes, it involves the hiss. By the time Jesse gets a chance to speak with him, his mind was already warped by the resonance, and he regards the hiss as his ally. This whole time, Dylan was being prepped to be the next director through the Prime Candidate program after they found out he had extraordinary abilities when he was taken all those years ago. When his powers got completely out of control, they locked him away in the containment sector, and then the hiss outbreak happened. The crazy thing here is that Dylan would have been completely fine thanks to his connection with Polaris like Jesse, but he rejected it, feeling like he was betrayed and abandoned when he was captured all that time ago and Jesse and Polaris were free. And without an HRA to wear, then it's no wonder the hiss got to him. It's almost like he accepted it. After speaking with a now contained Dylan, he instructs Jesse to find out what really happened to this place and tells her how the hiss were able to invade this place through the power of the slide projector. So collecting this object of power is mission priority number 1, and Jesse searches through a number of departments in the building looking for it, including a full recreation of the ordinary A.W., a warping and distorting pathway called the Astral Maze, which is a wicked part of the game. Take control. That's good stuff. And then the Hedron incident we mentioned earlier, where everyone was almost doomed. One thing I forgot to mention is that the hiss had help getting into the oldest house. The one who introduced the hiss into the building was indeed Zachariah Trench, the previous director. He would travel into the slides in the projector the same way Jesse and Dylan did when they first discovered it, and this is where Trench first came in contact with the hiss resonance. Through a cocktail of hiss influence and sheer paranoia of the people around him, he stole the projector and activated the very slide that allowed the hiss to get out, and the rest is history. Trench was manipulated in the same way Dylan was, and like him, he saw the hiss as an ally. Poofed. Some ally, because once Trench let them out and initiated the lockdown, his quote-unquote ally had no use for him, and he used his service weapon to, you know. The whole shebang ends in the final chapter with a push to shut down the slide projector OOP and stop Dylan and the hiss invasion. Jesse is able to cleanse the slide projector successfully, but unfortunately, the invasion has bled into the astral plane, this mysterious dimension of floating islands and pyramids and more absolutely weird stuff. Considering the astral plane is connected to all this paranormal stuff like the altered items, objects of power, and the board of directors of the FBC, it's absolutely a bad thing if this place gets invaded. Dylan has brought the invasion to the board's doorstep and he's looking to take him over. Ultimately, Jesse is able to fight her way through the hiss all the way to Dylan and cleanse the resonance from his mind. Unfortunately, that leaves him in a coma, but nothing ever fully goes our way in this universe now, does it? The game ends in an abrupt way, but an interesting one, with Jesse fully accepting her position as director, and it all calls back to those things I mentioned earlier. On top of those things, the hiss is still loose in the oldest house, and Jesse wants to eradicate it completely. In a vacuum, it might feel like the ending is a tad unsatisfying and abrupt. I certainly felt that way myself, but know that the DLC called The Foundation continues exactly where this leaves off. So, there are more narrative threads that will certainly lead into the upcoming Control 2 and more content to cover. Once we cover the Foundation, you'll get the full picture of the ending, and we'll have a clearer picture of where this pillar of the universe is going. So let's clean up the last of the trophies we have left to cover, and we can move on to that. And now we get to the last thing to cover for the Platinum run, which is collectibles. If you've been watching this whole time, you know I've had a bit of a problem with collectibles, and they have certainly not toned it down with the number of them in this game, let me tell you. But despite all of this, the Bureau Archivist trophy is not an issue this time, and here's why. Yes, there are lots and lots and lots of collectibles, and lots of different types of them too. You'll look under office desks, there are some collectibles. You'll walk through some slimy place, there are probably some collectibles in there. The projectors, collectible probably. You go to take a dump on company time, which is in my top 5 favorite things to do in life in general. There are a few collectibles there in the stall for reading material. There are collectibles everywhere, and while there are 288 in the base game, 57 in the Foundation DLC, and 67 in the A.W.E DLC, you only need 120 of them for the trophies. Remedy learned its lesson here without having to compromise. The trophy is so easy to get even if you ignore the collectibles for a little while and then start collecting them later. The DLC collectibles even count towards the 120, so that's even better. For once in this video, collectibles are not a burden. When collecting enough source for the paranormal collection trophy, though, that's no problem too. Source is your currency that you'll get, and the trophy pops when you collect 100,000 source cumulatively, meaning you can spend it and don't have to hoard it. Source flows like water and you collect it off enemies, get it in chests, get it when you sell stuff you don't need, and more. You'll get more while playing the DLC as well, so you'll never find yourself having to grind for any kind of collectible in this game. Thank you, Remedy. Thank you. And as we're heading into the post-game proper, this game owes you a platinum. Congratulations! You are awarded the Director of the FBC Platinum Trophy for Control. By itself, This game is great, but we are about to discover the real connections to the Remedy connected universe in the DLC. It's where this video gets really crazy, and it's the first crossover of promised many between all the pillars in this universe. But let's share some words about the base game and the Platinum run first. I didn't love this game the first time I played it, but damn do I love it now. Even the Platinum run is a great time though, even if I don't think it's as good as Alan Wake's. But that's fine. I think this is the most accessible Platinum in the whole Remedyverse. The world building with the objects of power and altered world events, and all the eccentric people working in all the departments handling different research projects. There's just so much to dig your teeth into and investigate. If you have a very investigative mind, this game is absolutely for you. If you love lore and world building, again, this game is really geared towards you. The game definitely has its great moments it puts in front of you, but it also has these deep dark corners with secrets that you get a little nervous investigating. Like I would be scared shitless to do what Jesse is doing even with Polaris on my side. I can go on and on about this game, but we still have more Control content to cover and more trophies. But last thing I'll say is that I'm so happy I had a reason to come back to this game and try to understand it. My life could have went on with a neutral/negative feeling towards this game when it deserves so much more. And Control is just getting started as one of the major pillars in the Remedyverse, and the DLC just gives us a hint at where it's going next. So without further words to share, let's see how Control's 2 pieces of additional content fit into this ever-expanding world.
It was a distress call. Faden sensed a drowning man, a man desperate to escape. She sensed something else, too. A hunger in the dark, not unlike the hostile resonance, waiting. She knew that desperate acts can have grim consequences. It was this, more than the man's despair, that made her follow the call. The elevator lights winked back on. The darkness receded like a memory. There was a new button on the elevator control panel. Investigation Sector. Faden pressed the button. The elevator doors slid shut with practiced bravado.
Now, when covering Control's DLC, the Foundation was the first piece of content to be released. But instead, I am going to cover the A.W.E. DLC first, the Altered World Events DLC. The reason is that while playing the main story, you can access the investigation sector where the A.W.E. DLC takes place early, while the Foundation you have to do when you finish the main story. So if you're playing the Ultimate Edition, chances are you will do this DLC first. Oh, and this is the Alan Wake crossover DLC that I'm dying to talk about. That too. The story itself is wild and unveils a metric truckload of revelations for the greater Remedy-connected universe. You'll collect 2 story trophies while you explore the abandoned investigation sector of the oldest house. You are beckoned there by none other than Alan Wake himself, and you will be greeted by a hiss-manipulated creature that would otherwise have been familiar if he didn't look so monstrous. This creature used to be one Dr. Emil Hartman, now distorted by both the hiss and the dark presence. He is running amok in the investigation sector, and of course, our newly appointed director has got to be the one to go down there and clean up the mess. The relationship with Alan Wake's world doesn't end with just this fact. So it turns out the events of Alan Wake 1 in Bright Falls have been deemed an altered world event, just like Jesse's hometown of Ordinary. In particular, Cauldron Lake itself, which is the portal to the dark place, is the catalyst of these A.W.Es, and it hasn't just happened once. It happened to Thomas Zane, the Anderson brothers, and even Emil Hartman, who was detained by the Bureau. All of these important people have been to the dark place, and the FBC has investigated each of these instances and treated them all as altered world events. The one that involves Alan Wake is just one of them. Now, it's also investigated that there are some objects of power here too, which includes the typewriter Alan uses, the clicker which we used in the Signal DLC and the end of the game, and even one more piece which we will see in Alan Wake 2. Does that make Alan Wake a para-utilitarian like Jesse? That's not quite confirmed yet, but it could very, very well be the case. So you bet your ass the FBC set up shop in Bright Falls after that incident involving Alan Wake, and they investigated and detained what they could get their hands on. As you find out in the second game, they had an FBC agent there all this time, and they would have probably ramped up its presence if it wasn't for the problems at home surrounding the hiss infestation just happening right in their backyard. Priorities, right? As well, it's being investigated, but the hiss might be a creation of Alan who wrote them into existence. That's still under investigation, but it's believed the hiss came from an alternate dimension by the Bureau, and that dimension might just be the dark place. Sure, they got in the building through the slide projector, but they had to have been put in these slides first by something, and it might just be Alan. So Alan kind of screwed them over now, didn't he? But now Jesse can focus on this issue in the moment, and by the end of the journey where we have to take out Dr. Hartman, we will light up the darkness, which we know is a perfect tool for dealing with the dark presence. At the end of it all, a transmission from Bright Falls somehow phases through the lockdown and warns the FBC of an impending incident set to take place in the region. The weird thing, other than the fact that it got through it all, is that it's from the future. Now, there is a very annoying, maybe missable, and partially glitched trophy that I want to highlight right now so that you don't delve too deep into the DLC and screw yourself over for the trophy. There are many vending machines in this massive building that I don't recommend eating the Doritos inside of them. But the ones inside the investigation sector are extra zesty, as some of them have been altered. And for the vending spree trophy, you have to destroy 80% of the altered vending machine instances, which is a weird way to describe that you need to destroy 4 of them. Anytime I found a vending machine in any area, I took a few shots at it to see if it's sus. And if it is sus, it would start running and the chase would begin. This happens randomly, so the same machine might not always be altered the next time you run into it. So the way I achieved this trophy was by checking both vending machines in the abandoned offices, all 3 in the operations center, and the one at the very beginning of the active investigations location. When I was done checking these, I headed back to the main menu and started the run through again. There was certainly RNG for this, but after a bit of time, I found enough sussy vendors and took them all out. Now, I mentioned this trophy is problematic, and that's because when I tried to do it after I finished the A.W.E story, for some reason I could not get any of the altered machines to spawn. I tried for a good 30 to 40 minutes and could not get a single one to pop up. Online forums didn't say that the trophy was missable, but did suggest that it could be glitched for some players. So what I had to do was back up my save and use chapter select to go back to a chapter where I could start the A.W.E story all over again and just farm the trophy by itself. So I can't stress it enough. Make sure that you get this trophy done early and maybe even right away, because like these altered machines, this vending spree trophy is a temperamental one. Before we continue with the other trophies, there is one you can get close to the vending machine in the active investigations location where you first fight and scare off Hartman. In that big room exists a smaller room with an altered arcade machine. Let's play some Shoom for some workplace recreation. You just have to play one of the two different games to get the trophy, and they're pretty fun. We've got already a nice helping of Horde mode in this video, so why don't we get in a little bit more? The rest of the trophies are pretty breezy and not too much to worry about. We have a new service weapon form that's collected in this DLC, and it's the Surge mod. It's akin to a grenade launcher noob tube style, but you get to decide when to detonate the grenades. It's cool, maybe not my favorite, but certainly powerful when you fully upgrade it. There are 3 trophies surrounding the Surge weapon, with one of them being ingenious. You have to fully upgrade the Surge mod to level 3 like you do with the other mods, 1, 2, 3. Then you have to take out 50 enemies using the Surge weapon for another trophy. And lastly, for the Work Smarter Not Harder trophy, you have to stick a Surge grenade onto an object that you will proceed to launch at an enemy. This is a great idea in general because launched items already do a lot of damage, but now it's got a grenade hitching a ride. This certainly will hurt the enemy. Now, I didn't try this myself, but if you attach all 3 Surge shots to 3 different objects, and then used multi-launch to throw them all, damage incorporated. But yeah, you get a multi-launch ability thanks to this DLC. And for the multiple applications trophy, you have to use multi-launch and hit 3 targets with it. You'll be able to unlock this ability in the skill tree if you invest enough points into the launch path, and the good thing is that you can do this at any time, anywhere. You don't have to wait till you start the DLC, you can unlock this ability even while playing the main story. There will be a ton of targets you can perform this on, especially with the new enemy type in the DLC called Airborne Rangers. It's exactly as it sounds, Rangers in the air. And to get the Elevated Mine trophy, you have to take out 25 of them. You can use the multi-launch, Surge, or whatever you desire, but for me, I had to do some post-story grinding because I didn't naturally find many of them while hunting Dr. Hartman. They kind of just show up randomly, and you might have to do a little bit of investigating yourself to go and find them. The final 2 trophies are related to collectibles, and yet again, you don't need to collect them all. It's cutting it close this time though, at 80% of everything, but still you can pick and choose and you can leave some. First, I worked on getting enough of the regular collectibles for the in-depth investigations trophy. At 80% of the collectibles in the investigation sector, I needed to naturally find or intentionally look for 54 of the 67 collectibles. It can be any type and any combination of them. And also for the Chief Investigator trophy, I also needed to find 80% of the hidden locations in the investigation sector. There are a total of 5 hidden locations, so 80% means 4 of them. You might need a guide for this part because I only found 1 or 2 of them naturally. However, if you are missing attribute points for the 100-point trophy in the base game, I encourage you just seek out all 5 of them while you're at it. And that's all the trophies for the Altered World Events DLC for Control. I quite enjoyed taking down that conniving little sneak Dr. Hartman, who bit off more than he could chew in the pursuit of power. Sucks to be you, you got what you deserved. The trophies were good, despite some bugginess coming from the Vending Spree trophy, which at least had some workarounds, so everything's fine. This was a great crossover event that married the 2 pillars of the RCU and interconnected them with common elements. It also sets up Alan Wake 2 pretty nicely, and you won't have to wait too long before you find out how in this video. But hold on, we have more trophies to round up for this game. If you haven't done it yet, complete the main story so that I can take you along for the ride that is the Foundation DLC. Truthfully, this DLC is more pertinent to Control and its own isolated world, overall, but this story is helping to set up the events of Control 2 in the same way A.W.E. was helping to set up the events of Alan Wake 2. It's just as important to the Remedy connected universe in that sense, but just for the future.
Are you part of the board? Or used to be? Okay, so you split because the board blamed you for... Gotta be easier to play charades. Do I need to rescue someone? I don't know what I expected. Listen, this has been great, but I have to go.
The Foundation DLC takes place after you fully don the new director suit in all facets, and it takes Jesse to the depths of the old house. It's an important DLC for building out the world of Control, but also potentially laying down narrative seeds to later bloom in the sequel and even Project Condor, which is rumored to be substantially connected to Control. Trophy-wise, it's a little more involved than the Alan Wake one, but not substantially more difficult or anything like that. Let's talk about the narrative first. We skipped over talking about an important character in the base game, and for good reason. We met Helen Marshall, who is stationed as the FBC's head of operations, and her team, who are in charge of creating more HRAs for the staff. Jesse helps her find her missing rangers and helps her secure the lab where they can work on this very pivotal, important devices. One thing I didn't realize in both of my playthroughs is that she eventually goes missing. Well, as it turns out, Helen went missing because she was involved in an incident in a hidden sanctum of the building called the Foundation, and Jesse only finds out about this when she's contacted by Helen through the hotline Object of Power. The hotline is another thing I neglected to talk about, as this Object of Power is another powerful tool for Jesse. The hotline can only be used by the director, just like your service weapon, and it allows Jesse to speak directly to the board. Who wants to talk to them though? They suck. The other thing the hotline can do is allow Jesse to speak with people in other dimensions or talk to the dead. Zachariah Trench, after doing that thing he did to himself, was able to talk to Jesse during the main story even after he was dead. So if Jesse can talk to Helen through the hotline, there's a good chance things went very wrong in this incident. So Jesse essentially goes down to the basement of the oldest house with the intent of discovering what is going on. After traveling through caverns and dugout pathways, you can discover something incredible. You find a massive structure called the Nail, which actually connects this world to the astral plane. It's been down in the basement this whole time, and it is of great importance and interest to the board of the FBC. However, it's currently in a broken state thanks to Helen, who tried to destroy it, fearing how the board might use it given the current situation with the hiss, the lockdown, and the changing of directors, and more chaos that's just going on. I'm sure Jesse would be smart enough to leave the Nail in this state if it wasn't for the fact that Helen's actions may have caused the astral plane to bleed into the real world and cause some crazy whack stuff to happen. So our main objective in the Foundation is to repair the Nail and repair the connection between the real world and the astral plane. It may cause other problems later, but I think having open windows to a distorted dimension is infinitely worse. The first trophy we're going to need to cover is called A Strong Foundation, where you have to complete all missions found in this DLC. That includes the 3 main missions and the 3 side missions as well. The found footage side mission had me containing an object of power that is an old-fashioned tube TV. I had to drag the thing through a deep dark cave where the only light source is the TV itself. Pretty creepy stuff. I hated it down there. The second side quest is called Pope's Collection, and unfortunately this one is a bit buggy. Not glitched, but it did bug out for me when I tried to place the correct cards in the correct terminals, and the terminals just didn't work at all. I had to kick back to the main menu and recollect the cards to get it to work out. When you play the side quest, you will understand what I mean, but once you start collecting the cards, I recommend finishing the whole quest to the end before you do anything else. Lastly, the third side quest has a dedicated trophy all to itself. The Star Performance Trophy was awarded to me when I completed the side quest Jesse Faden, starring in Swift Platform. Now you have to chase down and cleanse a rogue film projector object of power, and this sequence is this slick and neon chase scene where you have to jump from platform to platform and there's sick music playing. It's so stylish, and I implore you to experience this mission not just for the trophy's sake, it's just damn cool. We also get new powers in this DLC as well, and they're the subject of the Make-Unmake trophy. You get to a point in the story where you have to pick between the shape and fracture powers, and you have to use them a combined total of 100 times. Eventually you get both abilities, but this DLC is cool in that you can choose one, finish that path, and come back and continue on the other. You get to choose between the two, which is neat. Along the shape path, you will encounter a familiar foe. The former attacks us while we were trying to cleanse the killer refrigerator, but now it propositions a truce, an alliance against the board to fix the nail. It would seem that our goals align, and the former does end up giving use of his powers, which is the shape powers, so for now we work as one. But I'm watching you. The ulterior motives are not quite clear yet, but you can bet this being the former is still not to be trusted. Just like multi-launch, you have a new ability for another one of the base game powers that you can unlock whenever you want. You get the Rush Drop trophy for killing 100 enemies using the new Shield Rush ability. Remember that we could get a shield in the main story and throw the debris back at enemies, but now you can press the dodge button and just charge into enemies to mess them up. Unlock it by investing enough points in the shield skill tree, just like you did for the other path, and start charging his folk. The Shield Rush ability works great against the new enemy type in these parts called the Hiss Sharpened. There's a hostile work environment here, so we have to clear out 50 Hiss Sharpened who bum rush you with hammers and are just quite annoying. A good shield rush or two will take care of these barbarians, and they are quite formidable sometimes. And maybe it's good to fight these with a little bit of help from my friends. No, not Sergeant Pepper, but a few other sergeants lower down the ranks will do. Radio in the deployed soldier to help you get the supportive staff trophy, where you need to have a deployed soldier kill 5 enemies. It doesn't have to be one of them, thankfully, because they don't last very long in the heat of battle, but just keep summoning them and have them rack up kills. Maybe you have to help them out a bit by damaging the enemy, but once they nail up to 5 kills, this trophy is yours. You will certainly get to deploy the Rangers in the final battle to save the now repaired Nail, where we will fight a Hiss-infected Helen Marshall and a small army of Hiss Sharpened. This was actually a tough battle on the scale of the fight with Hiss Hartman, but once you defeat Helen and her forces, Jesse is able to cleanse the Nail and restore order to the connection between our world and the astral plane. A few narrative threads are set up here for Control 2. 1, the board can't be trusted as they are directly responsible for turning Helen into a Hiss. She acted out, but Jesse now sees the extent of their self-interests and corruption. Jesse needs to lead the FBC her way and not the board's way. 2, Jesse needs to fully explore the oldest house to not only eradicate the rest of the Hiss, but to also find out any more secrets and hidden sectors that may be lying in this place. She is the director, so she absolutely has to take control over this place. and 3, we definitely haven't seen the last of the former. This alliance has scored a victory over the board, and we know we will see the former again. The former has fought against us and has allied with us, so we really don't know if it can be trusted. We'll just have to find out in Control 2. And this is where all our story threads for Control wrap up. But not our trophies, so let's wrap up the rest of those. Okay, so Control has been very nice to us on the collectibles trophy front. So I am absolutely not going to complain here when this DLC now asks us to collect them all. Well, maybe complain a bit, because I'm always doing a bit of that. Here in the Foundation, we have to look for everything, and that includes 57 collectibles and 10 hidden locations for the 2 trophies on screen now. They work exactly as before, and the thing here is that all the collectibles are named, so you can look them up on the internet and see which ones you're missing if you weren't taking the collectibles seriously from the start. For the hidden locations, just go through every single one of them in a fully equipped guide and you'll be fine. This is not considered a hidden location, but there is a restroom that has intersected with the astral plane, and you need to find it for the astral plumbing trophy. It is located in the collapse department right before you go through the big stone door. It is inside the men's washroom, of course, which looks exactly like this sometimes at your local Walmart or McDonald's, and as soon as you see what it looks like, you get the trophy. Okay, now we've arrived at our very last trophy for the game Control, and man, this trophy blew my cranium sky high with the very nature of how cryptic and weird these last collectibles are. We have the One of Us trophy closing out the Foundation DLC as we gather all 8 Maneki Nekos and place them in their secret spot. These smiling cats that come in different colors are not hard to collect if you have a guide. Key phrase, if you have a guide, because I don't understand how you would naturally find any of these without one. How the heck did the first group of people looking for these damn cats figure it out? There are some very smart people out there. Like, for example, how did people figure out that you had to launch a gold cube into the washroom stall on the left here, through the toilet, and have it appear in the astral washroom so you can collect one of these damn cats? Or how did some very smart person on this green earth figure out that this black cube puzzle would yield one of the Nekos and the combination too? This is the level of sophistication we're talking about here when searching for these Maneki Nekos. Thank God someone did this already, and we have guides that we can just look at to help us. And thankfully none of them are missable either. Not even the one in the deep dark area where we did the found footage side mission. That one is hiding down there, and it sits right beside a very hidden collectible. Some of them are not as complicated, as they could be behind a breakable wall in a hidden room. There's usually a hint letting you know there is one around, but still, this level of cryptic sophistication is above my pay grade. It gets even crazier from here. Once you collect all of them, you have to bring them to a hidden resting place located in the collapsed department area. You will see them sitting outside this door, waiting for you to open the doors that you need for each of the Maneki Nekos, and they will rest there and give you a reward of some cute cat ears. Totally worth it. Oh, the trophy. Yeah. Who cares about the trophy now? Jesse has cat ears. And that's it for the Foundation and all the trophies for Control altogether. Great DLCs, all things considered, and delightfully just as weird as the base story. I look forward to covering Control 2 one day, and I hope Remedy just ratchets up everything this game has done to an even greater and more crazy scale. But that will be for a future video. Now we arrive to the special presentation of the video, and the one many of you have been waiting for. The last game we have to cover in this Remedyverse is the newest entry to this massive multi-game project, and that game, of course, give him a round of applause, is Alan Wake 2.